A salesman leaned forward, lowered his voice, and said, "I'll be honest with you, we're not making anything on this deal." Jake Miller believed him. He had done everything right, or at least everything the internet told him to do. He spent weeks researching prices, watching negotiation breakdowns, reading forums, and studying dealership tactics. By the time he walked into the showroom, he wasn't just another customer, he was prepared. The sticker price of the car he wanted was $28,900, but Jake knew the invoice price was $26,700. That number became his target. For nearly 2 hours, he negotiated with calm confidence, slowly bringing the price down. Every counteroffer, every pause, every tactic, it all felt like progress. And finally, he got it, $26,750, just $50 above invoice. The salesman leaned back, exhaled, and said, "That's basically our cost." Jake shook his hand, signed the paperwork, and drove away convinced he had just beaten the system. For the next few days, Jake couldn't stop thinking about it. The deal, the negotiation, the feeling of winning. He told his friends how he got the car for almost invoice, how the dealership barely made anything. It felt like a victory, not just financially, but psychologically. He believed he had seen through the tricks. He believed he was smarter than the average beer. But what Jake didn't realize was that the number he negotiated, the one he focused on so intensely, was only a small piece of a much larger system. A system designed not just to make money, but to make money in ways most customers never even notice. 2 weeks later, his colleague Daniel Brooks walked into the exact same dealership, same location, same brand, same model car. Daniel hadn't done as much research as Jake. He knew the basics, sure, but he didn't obsess over invoice pricing or negotiation tactics. He walked in, test drove the car, liked it, and started talking numbers. Within an hour, he agreed to a deal. When he drove off the lot, he felt satisfied. He got the car he wanted. The payments seemed manageable, and the process felt smooth. But when Jake and Daniel compared their deals later, the difference was shocking. Daniel had paid over $3,000 more for the exact same car, same trim, same color, same month. At first glance, it made no sense. How could two people walk into the same dealership and walk out with such different outcomes? The answer wasn't randomness, it wasn't luck, and it definitely wasn't just negotiation skill. The real difference lay in something far deeper, in the invisible layers of profit built into every car sale. Because the truth is, the price you negotiate on the showroom floor is only the surface. Underneath it is a system engineered to generate revenue from multiple directions at once. Most buyers believe the key to getting a good deal is simple. Focus on the invoice price. The logic is straightforward. The sticker price, or MSRP, is inflated. The invoice price is what the dealer supposedly paid. So if you can negotiate down to invoice or even slightly above it, you've minimized the dealer's profit. It sounds logical. It feels like insider knowledge. And it's exactly what Jake believed. But the reality is that the invoice price is not the dealership's true cost. It's a carefully positioned reference point, a number designed to guide negotiations while hiding what really matters. Behind that invoice price are multiple streams of money flowing back to the dealership, streams that most buyers never see. The first and most consistent of these is something called dealer holdback. This is a percentage of the car's MSRP, usually between 2% and 3%, that the manufacturer pays back to the dealership after the car is sold. It doesn't appear on the buyer's paperwork. It's not mentioned during negotiations. It's simply there, operating quietly in the background. On a car priced around $30,000, this could be anywhere from $600 to $900. That means even if a dealership sells a car at invoice, they're still making money. So when the salesman told Jake they were basically at cost, he wasn't entirely lying, but he wasn't telling the full truth either. Then there are manufacturer-to-dealer incentives. These are not advertised to customers, and they don't show up in price breakdowns. When a manufacturer wants to boost sales for a particular model, maybe it's not moving fast enough, or a new version is about to be released, they offer direct cash incentives to dealerships for each unit sold. This could be $500, $1,000, or more per vehicle. From the outside, it looks like the dealership is offering a big discount, but in reality, the manufacturer is covering part of that discount, allowing the dealership to maintain or even increase their profit margin. Another major layer is volume-based bonuses, often called stair-step incentives. These are structured in tiers. For example, if a dealership sells 80 cars in a month, they might get a certain bonus, but if they hit 100 cars, that bonus could double or triple. The difference between missing and hitting that target can be worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. This creates intense pressure, especially toward the end of the month. Dealerships may appear to take losses on individual deals just to push their numbers over the threshold, but those losses are strategic. They're investments aimed at unlocking a much larger payout. Jake happened to buy his car near the end of a sales cycle, when the dealership was pushing hard to hit targets. Daniel, on the other hand, walked in at the beginning of a new cycle when that urgency didn't exist. There's also something called floor plan assistance. Most dealerships don't pay for their inventory upfront. Instead, they finance it through loans known as floor plans. These loans accrue interest over time, which becomes a cost for the dealership. To offset this, manufacturers often provide financial assistance, essentially helping cover the interest. This reduces the dealership's carrying costs and lowers the true expense of each vehicle. Again, this isn't something the buyer sees, but it directly impacts how much profit the dealership can make. On top of that, there are performance-based bonuses tied to customer satisfaction, service quality, and brand standards. Dealerships that maintain high scores in these areas can receive additional payments from manufacturers. These bonuses are indirectly linked to each sale, further increasing the total profit generated per vehicle. So even if the front-end deal, the price Jake negotiated, looks thin, the back-end ecosystem is still highly profitable. That even after all these layers, the biggest profit opportunity hasn't happened yet, because the most lucrative part of the entire process begins after the customer thinks the deal is done. Once the price is agreed upon, the buyer is guided into a different room, the finance office. The environment changes, the tone shifts, the high-pressure negotiation is over, replaced by what feels like a routine paperwork process. This is where most buyers relax, and that's exactly why it's so effective. The finance manager isn't just there to finalize documents. Their role is to restructure the deal in ways that maximize profit. Instead of focusing on the total price, the conversation shifts to monthly payments. What kind of monthly payment are you comfortable with? Sounds like a helpful question, but it changes the entire framework of the deal. By extending the loan term or adjusting the interest rate, the dealership can make almost any price fit within a desired monthly range while significantly increasing the total amount paid over time. One of the most powerful tools used here, the interest rate markup, also known as the loan reserve. When a buyer applies for financing, the bank may approve them for a certain interest rate, say 4%, but the dealership is often allowed to present a higher rate to the customer, such as 5%. That extra 1% doesn't go to the bank, it goes to the dealership as profit. Over the life of a loan, this can add hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and because it's spread out over monthly payments, most buyers don't notice the difference. Then come the add-on products, extended warranties, gap insurance, tire and wheel protection, maintenance packages, paint protection. Each one is presented as a smart, protective decision, and individually, they don't seem that expensive, maybe an extra $20 or $30 a month, but when bundled together, they can add thousands of dollars to the total cost. And because they're integrated into the financing, buyers rarely calculate the full impact. Jake declined most of these offers. He stayed focused on the total price. Daniel, however, accepted several of them, not because he was careless, but because the presentation made them feel reasonable, necessary, even. By the time Daniel walked out of the finance office, his deal had quietly expanded. The base price was higher than Jake's to begin with, and the added products increased it even further. The interest rate markup added another layer. And just like that, the gap between their deals grew to over $3,000, not because Daniel made a bad decision, but because he didn't see the full system at work. This is how dealerships operate. They don't rely on a single point of profit. They build multiple layers, some visible, most hidden, and stack them together. The front-end price is just the entry point. The real money is made through a combination of manufacturer incentives, financial structures, and psychological strategies. Even a well-informed buyer like Jake only scratched the surface. He negotiated effectively, but he was still operating within a framework designed to protect the dealership's margins. The lesson here isn't that you can't get a good deal. It's that the definition of a good deal is often incomplete. Most buyers focus on the number. They can see the price on the contract, but the true cost of a car includes everything: the financing, the add-ons, the hidden incentives, and the timing of the purchase. Understanding these layers doesn't just help you save money, it changes how you approach the entire process. Because once you realize that the negotiation isn't just about price, you start asking different questions. You stop focusing only on invoice numbers and start looking at the full structure of the deal. You question the interest rate. You evaluate add-ons more critically. You pay attention to timing. And most importantly, you recognize that the system isn't built for you to win easily. Jake thought he had beaten the dealership. In reality, he had simply performed better within a system that was still designed to profit from him. Daniel didn't negotiate as aggressively, but he walked into the same system and experienced its full impact. 2 buyers, 1 dealership, same car, completely different outcomes. And that's the part most people never see.